Today's topic is about fatty acid metabolism and specifically the calculation of fatty acids. The following slide represents general characteristics about the fatty acid, their size, site of catabolism, how they enter the mitochondria. If you want, you can watch my previous video about fatty acid metabolism where I explained the following slides in details. Now we will talk about a molecule named the Propionyl-CoA. This molecule is present in each odd saturated fatty acid. First of all, this Propionyl-CoA will be converted into D-methylmalonyl-CoA by the enzyme Propionyl-CoA carboxylase. Carboxylase because we used a carbon dioxide molecule, CO2 molecule. And this step won't be catalyzed in the absence of BIT. Vitamin B7 is essentially needed. Alright, now the D-methylmalonyl-CoA should be converted into its isomer L-methylmalonyl-CoA by the enzyme methylmalonyl-CoA racemase. Racemase belongs to the class of isomerases. Here we just flipped the position of this methylmalonyl-CoA structure from a D to L. This L-methylmalonyl-CoA then will be converted into succinyl-CoA by the enzyme methylmalonyl-CoA mutase. We just mutate specific positions in this structure, forming the succinyl-CoA. Also, this step requires cobalamin, the vitamin B12, which means in the absence of B12, this step won't be catalyzed. Finally, this succinyl-CoA will enter the TCA cycle and produce 5 ATP molecules, which means each one succinyl-CoA will produce 5 ATP in TCA cycle. I mentioned the catabolism of Propionyl-CoA into succinyl-CoA in order for you to understand how we will calculate the odd saturated fatty acid. Let's sum up the topic with this example about odd saturated fatty acid. So C17-0. 17 mean that this odd fatty acid contains 17 carbon atoms, and 0, which means there is no unsaturation. It's a linear saturated fatty acid. First of all, the number of spirals, formula that calculate the number of spiral will be n over 2 minus 1, which will be equal to 17 over 2 minus 1. 17 represent the number of carbon atoms given in the title above. 17 over 2 minus 1 will give us 7.5 spirals. Because in odd saturated fatty acid, to exclude the presence of decimals, we will round up in a backward manner, which means we won't round up the 7.5 into 8, we will round it into 7. So 7.5 will be equal to 7 in odd saturated fatty acid. As mentioned in previous calculations, 7 spirals will give us 28 ATPs. Now the calculation of number of acetyl-CoA formula will change in odd saturated fatty acid. Instead of n over 2, it will be equal to n minus 3 over 2. So 17 represent the n, the number of carbon, minus 3 over 2 will give us 7 acetyl-CoA. This 7 acetyl-CoA will be multiplied by 10 equals 70 ATPs, which means the 7 acetyl-CoA produced from this odd saturated fatty acid when it enters the TCA cycle will produce 70 ATP energy molecules. Having now 70 ATPs and 28 ATPs, but because it's an odd saturated fatty acid, we'll have a Propionyl-CoA, and the Propionyl-CoA catabolism will give us succinyl-CoA as an end product. As we mentioned in the previous slide, each succinyl-CoA will give us 5 ATPs, so we will have an addition of 5 ATPs. We'll have addition to 70 and 28 ATPs, 5 ATP molecules, having in total 103 ATP molecules. Don't forget to subtract the 2 ATP that are needed for the activation of a fatty acid, giving us 101 ATP molecule. And by this, we will end the topic of today. Hope I made it clear for you. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will leave links in the description for other YouTube videos. Thanks a lot.